to Season 2, Episode 9 of Pro Wrestling's Top 50. I'm your host, Travis McNeil, and today we continue our countdown of the top 50 matches in Impact Wrestling history with match number 42 on our list, which is the six-man tag team match between Planet Jarrett of Jeff Jarrett and America's Most Wanted Chris Harris and James Storm against Rhino and Team 3D of Brother Ray and Brother Devon from the TNA Genesis 2005 pay-per-view held back on the 13th of November 2005. This might be a sacrilegious statement to a lot of people, but I think that this match was probably the best job that TNA ever did of encapsulating what made ECW great. And it's no surprise considering that the face trio in this match was made up of 3 former ECW wrestlers. And the reason I say that is not just the style of the match. Yes, it's kind of a wild, hardcore sort of brawl all over the arena, very much in that old ECW vein. The build up to this match was really, really, really well done. And all of the little things in this match gave you different satisfying payoffs and left the door open for other things that would be paid off in the future going forward. And that very much to me is peak, Paulie Dangerously ECW, 95, 96 booking. And it just created an incredibly satisfying overall package. How we got to this match. So Jeff Jarrett had his, Planet Jarrett stable that he had started, and it was going through various, incarnations. But in the summer of 2005, there was a big firing of a lot of different WWE wrestlers. And the rumor was that a lot of them were going to come into TNA. So it created this sense of paranoia in Jeff Jarrett that, people were coming for his spots. And it kind of was a really good use of Jarrett at the time. So one of the guys that had already been announced as signing on with TNA was Rhino. So they did a big spot at the pay-per-view where Rhino made his debut and helped Jeff Jarrett. I think he gored Raven, who was the NWA champion at the time, and sided with Jarrett. Jarrett used Rhino basically as his muscle. This led to a really, really good tag team match at the Sacrifice pay-per-view in August of 2005. Where it was Rhino and Jarrett against Raven and Sabu. Much like this match, just a great multi-layered hardcore brawl. This stipulation was that if Jarrett won, he would get an NWA World Heavyweight title shot against Raven and get a chance to become the king of the mountain once again, as he would say. Rhino actually got the fall in that match and got the title shot instead. So Rhino, Jeff Jarrett tried to get Rhino to give up his title shot, which Rhino refused to do. Raven eventually came out on top and won that match. And this led to a rematch, though, between Jarrett and Raven in Canada on a non-televised event. I think it was Border City Wrestling that held the match at the time. I think they refer to it as like the Canadian screw job or something along those lines, where America's Most Wanted, who had been faces their entire TNA career, were the face of the tag team division in the company, they turned heel and they helped Jeff Jarrett beat Raven and win the title, and joined Planet Jarrett at the time. So going into Bound for Glory 2005, which at the time, was hyped as the biggest, show in the company's history. We had the debut of Team 3D, Brother Ray and Brother Devon. They, came from WWE, obviously. And on their debut on Impact, a really great angle, America's Most Wanted jumped them, bloodied them, destroyed them, and basically, explained their reasoning for joining Planet Jarrett of, these guys aren't coming in to take our spot, right? We're still the top team here in TNA. So going into Bound for Glory, there was a really entertaining angle on Impact 2 where they did the funeral of Team 3D. Maybe doesn't hold up as well 16 years later as it did at the time, but it is still quite funny. You should be able to track that down on YouTube or just by watching the episode of Impact on Impact Plus. So they had established this AMW versus 3D feud. At Bound for Glory, Jeff Jarrett was scheduled to defend the NWA World Heavyweight title against Kevin Nash. Going into the show, though, Nash got injured. What happened is in one night, TNA did what WWE couldn't do in 4 years, and they made Rhino a main eventer and a superstar. They had him win a crazy Monsters Ball 4-way match earlier in the night. They did a gauntlet for the gold where the winner would immediately challenge Jeff Jarrett for the NWA title. They had Rhino win that, and then they had Rhino defeat Jeff Jarrett to win the NWA title. It was a great, kind of striking while the iron was hot move for TNA. Prior to the Genesis pay-per-view though, so in that 1 month period in between Bound for Glory and Genesis, Jeff Jarrett did win the NWA title back on a special 2-hour episode of Impact, and that's what set up this match here. So 6-man tag, like I said, they went all over the arena. The heels bailed, the faces followed. They fought all through the crowd, did some wild stuff. Jeff Jarrett got gorilla press slammed by Rhino through some chairs. Rhino took the old Tommy Dreamer, kind of bumped down the bleachers, just rolling and rolling as he went down. They, created a really good sense of chaos. James Storm, was whipping beer bottles and missing. He got, carved up by a cheese grater from Brother Ray. One thing that they established all throughout this match, though, was the tease of tables being used. It was just really well done. Of course, the Dudley boys are going to try to incorporate a table, but the Dudleys and AMW ended up having a tables match the following month at the Turning Point pay-per-view. So they were smart to not pay off one of AMW going through a table. Every time it looked like they were going to, they'd flip the table, move the table, counter the move, or whatever the case may be. It made you want to see these guys go through a table. Likewise, they did a spot up on the ramp with Rhino and Jarrett, where Rhino kind of leaned a table in the, the circular kind of entrance tube that the wrestlers would come out. So what he did is he leaned a table up there, teased a gore, which he didn't hit. Same thing the month later at Turning Point. The main event would be Jarrett and Rhino for the NWA title. They hit that spot. It was crazy, and they paid it off. It was good stuff. But they gave you some satisfaction here, because even though they didn't hit the gore, Rhino hit like a brutal pile driver on the ramp instead that looked really good. This goes into, your typical kind of finisher fest at the end with everybody, hitting their big moves and getting near falls. There was a great near fall where Rhino hit Jarrett with the gore, had the visual pinfall, but the referee got pulled out. So again, gave you reason for Rhino to get the rematch the month after for the title. They end up, Team 3D hits the 3D on one of AMW to put him away and get the win, which again, creates that opening for them to get the tag team title shot against AMW upcoming in the tables match, because the table wasn't, able to be used during the course of this match. Post-match, though, just added to this whole kind of package that you got. Jeff Jarrett, kabongs Rhino with the guitar and lays him out. Team 3D kind of comes to his aid. They try to powerbomb Gail Kim, who was the valet of AMW and Jarrett at the time, through a table. Their old trademark of powerbombing women through tables that maybe doesn't hold up so well in 2021. But they go for that, and Team Canada comes out to save their fellow Canadian Kim. They had also been aligned with Planet Jarrett, just all of these different kind of interarching stories. They come out and do the big beatdown, but before they can then put Team 3D through the tables, Christian, who had made his TNA debut earlier in the night, comes out. When he had debuted Scott D'Amore in Team Canada, with him being Canadian and having that history with D'Amore, they tried to get him to join. So he came out, he did the big reveal with the Team Canada shirt, looked like they were on his side. Then he turned, hit the Unprettier on D'Amore, and it led to a really satisfying payoff of Team 3D and their old rival Christian, coexisting at least on this one occasion, and hitting a double Team 3D to Jarrett through the table. And of course, Christian pulled off the Team Canada shirt, just revealed a proper TNA one, and showed that he was here in TNA to stay, and he would go on to have a great run that would include being NWA World Heavyweight Champion, and it would lead to his WWE return and main event push, and it really revitalized his career. As of the time of recording this video, he's just debuted in AEW, so we will see if the same thing happens. This match is great. It is so much fun. It was, a great, for anybody that was missing ECW a couple years after it was removed, this was a great nostalgia kick and just a really fun, wild brawl. You can watch it on Impact Plus, of course. Please subscribe to the channel here on YouTube. Follow on Instagram and Twitter at Wrestling50, and join me again tomorrow as we continue to count down Pro Wrestling's Top 50.